Welcome tuelimishwe kwa maswala ya jamii, tutumbuizwe sana mbalimbali, tujuzwe juu ya matukio ya kila pembe, towapa burudani kwa familia nzima.
Very, very good evening. My name is Lekuyani Eli, and this is Saturday. Welcome to the Family Edition. On Family Edition, we discuss matters that touch on the fabric of the family and at large, the society. Tonight, we have quite an interesting discussion because we are discussing the ongoing arsons in school. We've heard and reported of many cases of schools getting burnt down all over the country. So what exactly is happening? I'm here with Coach Collins Bolo, the man himself who discusses matters, family psychology, and everything that deals with this thing we call family. Coach, good evening, and how are you tonight? Oh, Coach, okay, you can take that again. I think you did the thing.
Okay, thank
Great.
you. Thank you, Eli Likuyani. I'm happy and fine, still in Nairobi. God willing, next week I'll be back to Mombasa. So a lot is happening in Kenya. However, there's still something good which you can discuss this night.
Still something good we can discuss this night, and definitely I want to hear this and many more. I think it will be very unfair not to involve somebody that has first-hand experience with students, and this is none other than Nyanduko 254 Mwaremo. Good evening, Nyanduko. How are you tonight?
Yeah, good evening, Ellie. Yeah, today I bring the perspective of the teacher and not the host of Girls Talk. So it's a little bit different today than any other day. And I can't wait to have this conversation and give you this perspective of the
perspective of the teacher, definitely. You know, Nyanduko, as we're starting off, there's one thing that I need us to agree on. There has been so many reports of students burning down their own school. And what saddens me is these are institutions that are supposed to be molding the society that we exist in, Coach. Should we be blaming the devil? Who is to be blamed right now? Let's start with you, Coach.
Thank you very much. Actually, schools have been burnt. Vehicles are being destroyed in different parts of our country. And this is part of expression which these young boys and girls are expressing to the community. The big question is, with these expressions which they have, does it mean things are too hard and nobody is listening to them and they have to get to this particular point? Or might it be possible someone is listening to them, but what they're getting from them is not what actually they want? What kind of pressure is around our students, who also are our children, our brothers and sisters? Something is wrong, but what is? Different schools in different parts of our country, students are communicating through burning of the school and also destroying of other properties. One school today called Muhoho, students went and they told the principal that, kindly, we feel like we need a break. Instead of burning the school, can you graciously allow us to go home without doing any damage? And we'll come back once we are ready and we are going to text you back. At least one school communicated, they were heard, and they left the school without burning. Others had to communicate through burning. There's a communication going on which is non-verbal, but unfortunately the nature of communication comes with a lot of losses as far as properties are concerned.
Wow.
Something is wrong somewhere.
Something is wrong somewhere. Nyanduko, what is your take on this? Kama mwalimu.
Now, Ellie, if you remember very well, sometime last year we hosted Robert Mukanzi, a deputy principal of some school in Central. I can't remember the name of the school.
Kiambu.
Yes, Kiambu High School. Now, as a teacher, first of all, teachers are tired. The ministry brought people back to school, squeezed everything to fit into a time frame that is unrealistic. These kids are supposed to take in content from where they stopped when COVID kicked in up to where they should be right now. It is a lot of content to take in. Remember, these are kids who are framed in a way that their mindset is that they should be doing 3 months and resting, 3 months and resting. Now you're forcing them to take in knowledge that they should take in over a period of more than 6 months in a very short period, and it is too stressful for them. Another thing, kids are they are used to not being heard. They are in the food chain. They're like the least uko chini kabisa. They are the people who are less listened to, because the adults know better. Now
Yeah.
they have to find a way to communicate, for people to hear them, for people to actually for them to get the attention of the administration, of the ministry, and everyone else. They complain. They actually raise their grievances. But who listens to the children? They are called lazy. They're told they do not want to study. Kama umechoka na masomo, go find something else to do. This is the perspective of a teacher who has actually been in that space and realized that these kids sometimes they need to rest. They need a rest. Their brain cannot take in everything that you want them to take in. And it is not very practical what the ministry is trying to push to these children. It is not okay to burn down schools, get that correct. But also, it is not also very okay to not listen to them. They actually have real problems that need to be addressed.
Well, Nyanduko, forgive me to have a different perspective on this, but I want to look at it as though we are now saying it is the ministry that needs to reconsider a few of the decisions they are making, including the reshuffling of the timeline of school. But we understand over the period of COVID-19, a lot was lost, and therefore there was need to recover these lessons. But coach, do you
Let
think,
me ask you a question, Emmy. Let me ask you a question. What is the rush? Where are we running to? Where are we going? What is the point of bombarding them with so much that they cannot take in their particular time that you want? Ellie, let us be realistic here and look at it like this. How many cases of fires have come up ever since the pandemic struck? And how has the number increased? How can you compare the numbers now to before the pre-COVID period? Can you compare it?
that is a question due to discussion? Coach Collins, where you sit,
Yes.
is it more about the policies? Is it about where we are coming from as a family? Because we cannot expect to have a well knitted fabric of a society if the family is actually at loggerheads. Coach Collins.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's something which you understand. Our current system of education, which is not working, and that's why the government is kicking it out. It is exam-oriented, whereby your success is by the satisfaction of your class teacher, the principal or the head teachers, the location leaders of education, and finally the government large. So the most get performance, it's assumed that out of that, because they passed, then there's a success. But the good thing is the government has realized there's a lot of gap. That's why they are eradicating that system of education. But some of the aftermath effects of that system, minus post-COVID stress-related issues, is so high. Unfortunately, the minister in charge of education has to meet his goals, his mandate as a minister. He has to demonstrate his performing like the former who was there. For him to perform well, he has to adjust by thorax and by force. The teachers have to obey his instruction as a CS. If you don't, you're going to be kicked out. So what does it mean? The ministry put pressure to the school. The school has to put the pressure will come to the head teacher. You have the members. The pressure has to go to the teacher, to put it to the student has to put it to the facility. The chain goes. People are under a lot of distress. And the worst scenario is this. Kenya today, we have thousands of professional counselors who have been trained and they can competently help our students and even teachers. But this fragment of professionals who have never been regarded, even when issues started coming up, at a time like now, the government can invest a lot of money to buy fire brigade for the next burning, but they cannot put these people into task to help our people.
True.
During COVID season, most of the parents were stressed, distressed, and some committed suicide. In fact, every 24 hours, at least 4 to 5 men were committing suicide. Every 24 hours, I'm talking about Kenya. these parents at the same particular time. Now, their children also grew up in an environment, hostile environment, that one particular year. The curriculum must be accomplished no matter what. But the funny thing is, the pressure in our 844 system toward the satisfaction of the teacher, the head of department, the principal of the school, the regional education leaders, and the government is extremely too high. And no parents, no teacher, and most of the heads or principals, they don't have time to listen to the students. It's easier time like now for us to do blame shifting. What will be blame shifting? It will be our children are indisciplined. But can it be possible all these students are indisciplined? Okay, let us assume they're all indisciplined.
Yeah.
Where did we go wrong?
Where did we go wrong? I love that. I love that, Coach Collins. And before we continue, let's just say there's something that Dalmas Nzai tells me in the comment section. She says, or he says, I have no idea if that's a male or a female name, but pardon me.
It's male. It's a pastor friend of mine. It's male.
Okay.
Dalmas.
Okay. Dalmas, thank you so much and welcome to the conversation. Dalmas says, hiyo stress iko kwa government schools peke yake. That's a question. Issue your rest is not sincere. Stress levels. We have somebody here called Newton Munene watching us on Tina Kagia's page, says the problem is we adults, we never give kids a chance to express themselves. Instead, we make them follow ours. Meaning, my word is final. What I say is what goes. Nobody else has anything to say. And again, we have Rico Madiwa who says they just want a break for midterm. How? Hitam Nindogo haikufaa midterm. And I know, yes, these are the conversations that we must have. These are the conversations that we must have. We have, this is Manika Shiru who says, the big question is, who is to blame? The blame game starts and begins. Remember, you're watching the Family Edition. And tonight we are having a quite peculiar kind of conversation, which has been instigated by the ongoing arsons in schools. And we are trying to identify where is the gap and what must we do to fill in this gap. Who must be blamed? We are saying, is it the devil? Because most of the time when things happen, they say, Shetani ndio amefanya. And there's an issue to deal with indiscipline. And we are saying, are all these people indisciplined? And then someone else here is throwing in some spanners in the work and asking me, even if it is stress, is it just government schools?
Yes. Now, let me tell you something early. One school today in one of the regions in Kenya, the students were asked why they have decided to ban the school. And they say it's because we were denied entertainment. You see, entertainment in our school helped to diffuse a lot of pressure on students.
Exactly.
The other day, the first school which it was banned after Manchester United was hit 5-0. Now, these are students who are in school. They can hear from the neighborhood, people are shouting and screaming, goals being pumped in on one team against the other. They have a television in the school. Yet the school just decides people have to study and not to watch soccer. That particular point. Now, sometimes you wonder, are teachers living in the moon and coming to school in the morning on these factors? You realize students get mad and distressed because of the peer pressure coming from the other side of the community, leading to banning the school. That was the first school. The issue was we were not given a chance to watch television. Today, a school said we don't get chance for entertainment and we need Githeri to be brought back to school. Now, what the problem is, it's easy for us to start blaming them that how can they ban school at the expense of Githeri? Yet we know when we were at the same stage, food was a very key thing for us. So if we don't get to the level of the students to understand what they are passing through against the behavior which they're displaying, then by the end of the day, we shall be having the blame game one from the other. Something is extremely wrong somewhere. And we need to take a approach towards identifying the gaps which are within our society. And as someone has said, why don't we see these things in private institutions? Most of the private institutions, students eat very well. Even as parents pay well. They have enough space for studies at the same time. The schools create good opportunity for students to get into sports and entertainment. In comparison to a government school, which put too much pressure on children as though studies and failing exam is like going to hell forever. And you don't have space for rest and ourselves. So mentally, they get to they get to mental burnout by the end of the day. And they start having abnormal behaviors. Because of such.
Eli, I'd like to also address the person who asked, why is it only the public schools? Now, I'll take you back to the quarantine period. And I was actually teaching a private school at the time. Those kids were on with their education. Their syllabus kept moving. Nothing changed for them. Like, a lot did not change apart from the normal classwork. Everything else remained constant for them. They continued with their syllabus. They covered most of the chapters that they should have covered. The pressure is not as much as it is in public schools, because those kids went home, stayed home for 2 years, a year plus, did nothing, came back, and now they want to cover all that in 2 months. When I say I understand where they're coming from, I actually do, and someone needs to listen to these kids. And that is why, Eli, if you remember when you talked to Robert Mukanzi, we actually said that a lot of funds and input needs to be put in bringing psychologists and counselors to school to listen to these kids. And guidance and counseling is there in schools, but is it really functional? We have a department called guidance and counseling, but is it functional in most public schools? It is not. It is not.
Why is this not functional? I see Coach shaking his head.
Let me tell you why. One of the reasons why it's not functional is what we call dual relationship. How can the same teacher, who is the discipline master, become a therapist counselor to you? It doesn't work.
Thank you.
It doesn't work. That's dual relationship. We need pure psychological counselors in institutions who are not teachers. And the relationship between them and the student is a relationship which is best towards helping them towards discovering themselves and growth in their life and in their journey as students at that particular time. But when the discipline master becomes the guiding and counselor, my friend, it is like requesting Hitler to become the priest in your church. It doesn't work.
Exactly. Eli, this is the same person who understands, who knows this child is not performing well in class. They already have an attitude towards them. They already have something against them. You're not even performing well in my subject, and now you're coming here with your family problems. I have seen it happen firsthand in an office. Our department was actually the guidance and counseling department, and you come there, and the prejudice that comes before you actually say your problem, it is hard to actually get heard, because the teacher wants to tell you how you failed in your English exam last week. Before you even say your problem, you're told to go and study. So these kids actually need help, and professional help at that.
Definitely, we want to talk about that and many more. Let's go back to the comment section. Noreen says here, let me take it up all the way up, because then we are not able to follow the conversation. Noreen says, I don't think it's about midterm. Both teachers and students are under pressure. Both teachers and students are under pressure. Listening in carefully, that is Emmanuel Ocheng. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for coming on board tonight. Let me take one more from Noreen. Says, these students need time to rest out of school. There has been no co-curricular activities. Once they are in schools, that's it. The functions really helped.
Ellie, let me say something on that. Now, you know, the normal school term usually has drama festivals, music festivals, and games in between. Now you're putting these kids in a place where it feels like a prison, because one, they've not interacted with other kids from other schools anywhere ever since they resumed their studies. It is just them, and then the same teachers every day. Ellie, even you, if you see the same person every day, how will your head be? You know, you're seeing the same person every day. You have the same problems. No one is addressing them. The problems just keep building and building and building. You'll reach to a breaking point, and you will break. And that is what is happening to these kids. They have reached their breaking point. And something needs to be done because it can only get worse from this point on.
It can only get worse. Dalmas Nzai says,
The
teachers.
worst.
Okay, you want to throw in a couple of words before I take this comment, Coach?
Yes. To make it worse, the government now is talking about how the students are going to be put into jail, as if putting people to prison will solve the problem of incompetence in understanding and discovering the predicament of the teachers and the predicament of the students. The students, I tell you, if teachers could be getting different source of income apart from the government, they could also do wonders. It's only that they have been obliged to be silent about the whole matter. Right now, it could have been better if there could be a group which has been assigned to check and understand exactly what is happening. What's exactly happening? But the more they're being threatened, realize I'm sorry, what's his name? This guy.
Magoha, Professor Magoha.
The more he has been talking about laws coming in and students being put in, most schools have been banned. It's like trying to solve an emotional problem with the logics, and that's the problem. The CS is trying to come with the logics when the students are having emotional problem. And this emotional problem might be rooted from their homes. It might be rooted because of the environment at school. It might be rooted because of malnutrition aspect, because if students can ban school because they need githeri, there's a problem somewhere. It's not about githeri. There's something they're lacking which makes their head not to think smart. So it's easy for us to blame the issue of drugs. Do you mean all these school students are under drugs? Absolutely not. The government need the CS, like just as when we had COVID, the government had to involve different stakeholders to fight in one mind against COVID, and now we have success. In the same way, in the sector of education, we need psychological counselors. We need clergies, pastoral programs. Christian Union meetings are taking place. They're no longer taking place at all. Used to have speakers who are coming to school, motivating students and talking to them, some being converted and changing their behavior because of their conversion. All these things are not taking place. But through the same CS, again, what's happening is this. Even people, motivational speakers, clergies who are going to school, they've been criminalized and they're no longer getting there. And that's where the devil comes in. Why? Students are being left to rule themselves with the pressure of the academic. No way. Something has to be done.
Something has to be done and something must be done. Dalmas Nzai says teachers' attitude is a big problem. Teachers mistreat parents. Example, you must buy uniform in a particular shop. Bed sheets must be of the same color brought from this shop. Those are just bad examples. Are we in business or are we helping students improve their life?
I have mixed reaction about this comment. I do not know where I stand about it. First of all, a school needs to that's why it's called uniform. This is my take. It is my personal opinion. Please don't come at me. It is called a uniform for one reason. If everyone came with everything that they need, I'll go to school with my hair and it should be okay. And you know, that does not make it uniform, and it brings about so many issues because people from rich families will come with their own thing, and you know, people will feel a certain type of way. Now, something else about the teachers mistreating parents. We're talking about a group of people that are overworked and underpaid, unappreciated, and no one ever talks about the teacher, because the teacher is the source of, you know, so many people that we have out here, all these professionals. Coach Bolo here is a result of a teacher, is a product of a teacher somewhere who is very unappreciated and underpaid. And you sit somewhere. I honestly feel like the CS is so out of touch with what is happening, like with what is on the ground academically in these schools. What is on the ground? I feel like this person has not been on the ground really to understand the actual problems that these people are facing, to know what is really happening. Taking people to jail. When has force ever solved anything in this country? When? So I honestly think that buying uniform from a particular shop could be maybe a certain teacher wants to make a living, you know. Let me tell you, Ellie, and take this to the bank. If someone gave most teachers an alternative, most teachers in private school, and told them, I will give you a better pay and you will not have to do all the work that you're doing, trust me, we will have very few people who teachers who still want to be teachers in public schools.
Wow, 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 wow. Definitely. I want us to have those and many more discussions tonight because hapa naona leo kuna shida. We will argue the points, and of course we will come to a conclusion of what must be done. Meanwhile, let's take a very, very quick break, and then when we come back, we are going to address this and many more. Let's take a quick one.
Tulipoenda bafuni nawe sabuni ya kipande.
A man that truly loves you will be consistent on every point that I've mentioned tonight. The consistency. They will not say, I love you today, tomorrow, they are not sure.
A number of things that contribute to this, but at the core of it, I think it's the value degradation.
Do you hear this? Listen, whatever Lumumba and Jobless are doing, God bless your heart because you're bringing romance back to this generation.
Yes, indeed. The very, very first time we went live was on the 6th of November, 2021. And yesterday, we marked the first Friday of November that made Art in Heart what it is tonight. But tonight, let's shift gears. And for those who haven't yet subscribed, remember, you can always hit the subscription button on our YouTube channel, which is the Arts in Heart official, as it appears on your screen. And meantime, let's bring in this wonderful panel that is discussing the fires in school. And right on the top corner, we have Coach Collins Bolo, a psychologist, and many, many other aspects that we'll be telling us about as we continue with this conversation. And Nyanduko 254, yeye ni mambo ya comedian, lakini leo amekubali ni mwalimu because that's what she carries herself around with kwa ile bahasha ya brown akitafuta kazi. So, Nyanduko,
Yes,
I want us to go back to the road of history and Coach Collins. A few years back, about 14 or so, Kenya went into elections just like it's planning to do next year. And you know what we did? After that, we disagreed. And how did we resolve it? We decided to burn things up. And tonight, we are here discussing about students, rather our children who are about 14 years old, burning down schools and literally burning down their future. Are we really in the right, do we even have that, there's a word that is slipping my mind, but do we have that moral authority to actually critique these children? Let's start with you, Coach.
Unfortunately, when mature people ban things like in the university, during election period, it sounds cool to everyone. But when their children mimic the same, they're demonized. That's why the big question is, starting of school is just a symptom of some underlying problems.
Mm-hmm.
And the talk now should go deeper to issues. A part of us addressing the banning of school, which is just symptoms of underlying problems. The bigger discussion should be what might be happening in the lives of these young boys and girls to the point of seeing the same facilities, the same environment which they are living in and can facilitate their academic success becomes something of no value worth to be destroyed. You see, thoughts create feelings and feelings lead to behavior. There's a way in which they think which makes them to feel very hostile and come up with a behavior of banning the facility. And the funny thing is, if one school does it, it's weird. But if most are doing it in different locations, then it is a signal there's something, or there's a common pandemic, emotional pandemic taking place in the lives of these people. Yeah. Now the dialogue should go much deeper at this particular point. Not to dialogue how we are going to put them in prison, but to dialogue on issues. What are some of the emotional situations in the lives of these young people? Are they aftermath effect because of where they're coming from, their upbringing, or hostile environment within where they are, environmental, so that we come out of this trap, dealing with emotional problem from a very logical point of view. That's what the government is very logical, but the children or the young boys and girls are very emotionally disturbed. We need to get to the root of the problem leading to the symptoms than tackling and just discussing about the symptoms alone. Banning of school and destroying things is just a symptom, there's a problem somewhere. And we have experts who have been trained to address symptoms, and government have been overlooking them for quite a long time. And they have an association of the same. These are a group of professional counselors. If the government won't be able to identify them and give them a task, it's a preparation. By the end of the next step before election, majority of them are going to graduate. They're the ones who are going to be paid to stone people in the street, to extend the unsorted issues, which nobody cares about it, but we blame everyone. They are emotionally sick and they need help.
Nyanduko, are we sick because of our past, or are we sick because of the system?
Now, the cause of the sickness can be attributed to both the past and the system, because we have brought up these kids in a society where they have seen us use chest, we use thorax, we go at everything with force. You want to, whatever you want, the only way to get it, they know, is by force. And now they think that the only way they can be heard is if they do something that calls for attention, and that is how they have been instructed. Like Bolo is saying, Ellie, when you're sick and you go to the hospital, you have a cough that has been persistent for weeks. Do you still take core and maramoja 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the line? You're still taking Panadol 5 weeks down the line. They even say in the hospital, if symptoms persist, seek medical advice. Now, these symptoms have been persisting. They've been going on and getting worse each and every time. And you want to treat them the same way and do nothing about them, and even threaten to take them to prison. Honestly, do not know, when this CS sits down and listens to the things he actually says on TV, does he feel some type of way, or is this how we should be doing these things? Because these kids have been doing this. It has been going on, Ellie, if your child comes today, breaks a cup, tomorrow they come and break something else, the other day they break something else, will you be concerned that something might be wrong, or will you just sit and decide that now I will tie you with a rope so that you don't break any more cups?
It's interesting you bring that. And I remember an incident where there was this parent that was constantly complaining about their child breaking things. Everything they handle, they break them. What this parent didn't understand was this child had some issue with coordination and muscle issues. So we are here castigating this child. Wewe unanivunja, ama the common wording we'll use in homes, vunja kabisa, baba yako ni tajiri atanunua zingine. Vunja kabisa malize. Baba yako anivunje roho na univunjie nini? Univunjie vikombe. Yes. So we don't see the root of the problem. We only see what is manifesting out as problem. And so, Coach, I'm asking, how then do we go back to the drawing board? But before you can answer me that question, let me just go to the comment section so that we can involve everybody that is part of this conversation. We have Chumba Chambin who says, we are worried as parents. This is too much. The Ministry of Education should have a serious conversation with parents. Edwin, Kanda says, following in Ruiru live and clear. Pastor, I believe is referring to our clergyman Collins Bolo. We have Chumba again saying, seriously, do you think what is happening is good?
It is not.
How can you sit there and imagine we are okay? No, we're not. Okay. This is Anne Seraphine who says, Shida need that uniform is bought from a certain shop connected to the school. Okay. I think we'll have to have another discussion with schools after this. Okay, okay. And we have George Maganga who says, I believe parents should take the blame. Not for teaching, having time, sorry about that, having time with their children to discipline them. And that's the word. The word here is to discipline and not to punish. Okay? It's to discipline and not to punish. With all the frustrations we can cite for what is happening, which are very true, but the action of the burning of the school shows some other psychological disorders in this generation. Wow. And allow me to say this, Emmanuel. Actually, I saw it equally in our generation, but this has been a generation sort of induction. When this generation is done, the next comes in and takes up the same issue. They're doing it more increasingly because it's being reported, and we have all the machinery to show us what is happening. But again, this is a conversation that we need to find what is happening. Pastor Kevin Tindi, rather Reverend Kevin Tindi, says, following closely, and I hope you can give us a contribution to this. Let me tell you, Nyanduko, public schools are way better. Unajua shida zenye walimu wa private schools wanapitia. You either work like a donkey or we fire you. Hello, frustrations in private schools. Okay. Okay. We might not be in the capacity to respond to all of them, but again, let's just get a few more samples of the contributions. Emmanuel again says, it is like one cannot justify killing for frustration. Frustration is an emotional issue, but the killing is an action that says a lot about a psychological disease.
Yeah.
Coach Collins. One more here from you, from Anne Serafino says, Norin, alafu kamshahara akipoleni. Hakuna. Okay, fine. I think this is from George. I'll take this one as last. I think we parents should be blamed for not only to teach our children good morals, but also be good listeners to our teenagers and solving their problems. Coach.
Yes.
Umesikia mingi. Just pick among them and choose to respond and contribute to that conversation.
There are two things which shall come up. One is the issue, the role of parenting, and the role of the law of choices and consequences. And I think one of the things which each and every parent, because her home is the first school, each and every home is the first school, and the first teacher is the parent. And one of the things which we need to teach our children in this generation, which most of them are lacking, is the law of choices and consequences. And how do we teach them? There's a stage whereby first we need to learn to tell them. Once we tell them with curiosity, once they start going against it, some things, for example, like we tell a child, don't touch fire. Then the child will start feeling like, no, at the stage where I am, I think I'm smarter than my parent. The moment he touches it, it burns the kid and they start crying and be told, I told you not to. Don't run over the seats, you'll fall down. Then the kid feels like he's smarter. He falls down the next time, the second, the third time. Then he realizes it seems some of the things my parents are telling me have a lot of value.
Yeah.
Then a stage comes whereby if they get instruction and they don't follow, they need now the parents to follow the law of rewarding and punishment, whereby if they don't respond to some matters, they need to be punished or to be disciplined. Discipline sounds more better because of the West. People from the West. In Africa, we punish them. Meaning that they pay for the wrong they did. We don't put it very soft like where you are early. We're going to talk about with discipline.
I was about to correct you, to be politically correct.
Yes, because I know you are thinking from a white man point of view, while you are thinking from an African point of view. We discipline through offering punishment. See now.
Okay, you are
Otherwise
offered
now.
punishment. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Now, when children understand that there's some mistakes which need talking, someone needs to be disciplined, and also same time we reward them, it helps them knowing that in life, every choices we make have its own consequence. It can be a consequence of reward or a consequence of discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Like now, what the CS is trying to tell them that even with whatever you're doing now, it will be recorded on your certificate of good conduct. Certificate of good conduct makes no sense to the student at this particular point. It only makes sense to people looking for employment in certain sectors in life.
Mm-hmm.
Because today you have some of our key leaders who have been detained in the past, but we see them succeeding today, and their record of the past does not hold them from being into power and whatever they want to do. It doesn't make sense to most of the people.
Yeah.
So we need to teach our children the law of choices and consequences from our homes as far as parenting is concerned. We need to help our children to understand that not everything which you need, you must get it, no matter how you feel it's your right.
Mm-hmm.
Because life is not always fair to every person at every given time.
Yeah.
Some of these soft skills, when they start learning from their homes, it becomes easier when they're under pressure, when they continue to grow up. Because with the teenagers, there's what we call the group crowd psychology, where
Mm-hmm.
peer influence is so much common among them at that particular stage. Then you see, like one school today, what did they do? They just decided, let us go and tell our principal, we feel so stressed, kindly. We don't need to ban to ban the school others. Can you allow us to go home? That means the student negotiated. Upon their negotiation with their leaders within that particular school, they decided, we will go home. We cannot stand staying here, but let us not ban our school. And today, Mohoho Secondary School is in the list of making still the same decision like others to go home without any damage. That one means in the negotiation as leaders of the school, they thought very well about the consequences of the choices which they'll make. And they decided to do what was appropriate for them. We are stressed, we are tired, and we need a break. They have a break. And they made it very clear to the teacher, when we feel like coming back, we are going to text you, meaning that they have a whole network of communication among themselves. This was a well-planned homegoing methodology which was used.
Well, we can applaud them for that. But Nyanduko, let me ask you. I know you don't really represent the school per se, but let's have basic conversations here. You allow that to happen because students have negotiated their way home with no damages whatsoever. How about the parent that is paying up for a service that is not being delivered, but they will oblige to pay again for that time you missed out afresh? Who actually
Now,
is getting the hit from this?
Ellie, now, would you rather, as a parent, pay for the time that your child went home to rest, or just pay damages for the damages they caused in the school, or have them go to jail because now the system wants to take them to jail because they wanted rest? The body sometimes, Ellie, even you as a person, sometimes you get to a point and it's your breaking point and you cannot go any further. So I honestly do not see a problem with these kids needing time out. And this ones were lucky because the communication channel was open and they were able to reach, the offices and whatnot. We have schools where the communications channels are not there, non-existent. And those are the kids who are communicating by burning down schools. The Mohoho kids were sure that if they spoke, meaning they have been given that platform for them to actually express themselves. Now, Ellie, picture a scenario where your child gets banned in the school, because it happens. You are in the wrong place at the wrong time, and when the fire starts, you were caught in the middle of it, and you get banned with the process of burning down the school. So it is a very small price to pay, in my opinion. It is a very small price to pay for the wellness, for their mental healthness, and even for their physical wellness of these kids. It is a very small price to pay.
What a difficult conversation to have. Coach, do you really think this is a small price to pay?
You see here, it's the battle between choosing two evil. One, leaving the school, 2, damaging the school. The truth of the matter is, even if you stay 100 years in school, it does not guarantee you success after you get out of school.
Thank you.
These students are a bit learned. Apart from others who just said they could reason and come up with a very good conclusive action when they feel they're mentally fatigued and they're worn out. Because most of the time when we're mentally fatigued, we can make very irrational decisions. And that's what I was saying. If this thing is happening in every corner of our country, it's a symptom, there's a common disease, which is right now spreading among the children, which is emotional, psychological related. And this is the point. 2, let's assume the students have gone home now and they stay home for 2 months. Then they come back. Should parents pay again? That's corruption. Teachers have been paid by the government. They did not run the school. Why should parents pay again?
Yes.
Now, these are kind of the behaviors which brings stress to the parents and even get reflected to the children. So you find, for example, after 1 month, something happens in school, students are sent home. Then the parents are punished to pay more amount of money because people are away. Are they being paid for the presence of the students or for the learning which takes place on the students?
Sure.
So, like the Mohoho Secondary School, what they did today, let's assume they'll be away for 2 months. When they come back, parents should not be charged more amount of money because this money, they sweat for it. 2, what value was added to the school and the students for the parents to pay again? That's corruption. And the same corruption, we see it because teachers are not being paid well. They have to collude with other potential people who can make more school uniform and they get out of it. And the same corruption we see in procurement departments when people are buying pen, just an ordinary pen, for 5,000. It's a big problem.
What you're painting out, Coach, it's a corrupted system and as a moral decay that we are having as a society. So I know we cannot solve this overnight, but what are the steps we can start by? The simple steps, Nyanduko, that you propose. This is number 1, especially let's start with students.
First of all, the system is broken. We need to fix the system. And we have to open these communication channels and let these kids express themselves. Get proper professional help for these kids. Get actual counselors in schools because these kids need people who are actually trained for this job to listen to them. Stop putting too much pressure on the teachers. They cannot be counselors and teachers at the same time and spiritual leaders. It is too much work and it is too much to expect from a single person. And when things go south, we want to blame the kids and the teachers. The system is broken. Let's find a way to fix the system first.
Before you come in, Coach, there's a question that Dalmas raised and is insisting we must respond to it. I believe we either didn't respond it accordingly, and therefore he needs to understand this. Hiyo stress iko kwa government schools peke yake. If you arrest, it's not sincere. Is there more than meets the eye? I believe that's the question.
It's funny that majority of the schools which have actually banned their government schools, and the few who have communicated their issues. For example, one school was complaining that the teachers are very harsh, and even the head teacher. When the parents came, most of the parents were also complaining of the same, that when they go to the same school, the head teacher and the teachers are extremely very harsh to them. Now, if a parent can feel that a teacher is harsh to him or her, woe unto the student. Like in one school, at one point of time during the COVID, just after COVID, a parent could be commanded to kneel down in school.
And be beaten.
Yes. If a parent can be intimidated to that level.
With who was doing this? I'm sorry, but I look a bit uninformed.
The teachers were whooping these parents vibaya sana.
For what reason?
Whatever reason.
I've actually seen Bolo, before you go, I've actually seen it happen firsthand in a school in Western. I'm not going to mention names, but I've seen it happen where a parent has brought their child for, maybe you sent home to bring your parent as punishment, and then the parent is supposed to punish you. And if they cannot punish you, they will be punished on your behalf. So I've seen it happen firsthand.
But what?
Ellie is surprised.
Help me, God, because I was about to say something that might be used against me.
Now, I'll give another example. Recently, I had a child was brought to my office for counseling therapy.
Mm-hmm.
At one point of time, due to some challenge the child had, then I did a psychometric assessment on this kid. I found out that this kid, the speed of her brain is a bit low. Not that she's standard. The speed is a bit low. So meaning that if she will be in a system which can be more accommodative to her and go with her pace, she can perform very well. Then I recommended a different type of a system whereby it could help her. So she joined that particular system. It was very good and very friendly. 4 years down in line, the child is brought back to me for therapy. And the child was under a lot of distress. And while we were having the therapy, she told me that one of the biggest things which led her to a lot of distress is the fact that this private school where she was, the head of the school is very friendly to parents, very friendly, as good as an angel. But when the parents are away, she's extremely hostile to students. And she used to spank so much until her back had a lot of stripes, of wounds. And this is a Christian institution. And I was like, I didn't believe it, because it's one of the schools which I respect so much. And I respect the principal of that particular school. But the evidences which were on her, that pretense at that particular point. Now, with this kind of things happening, even parents being punished on behalf of their children, it's very intimidating at that particular point. Why? We are getting some of our teachers who were terrorists as far as the lives of the parents and the students are concerned. What do you expect? With the time, the students can respond back. They can respond back. And there are instances whereby a student killed the head teacher because the head teacher was so scared by everybody, but this student decided to take charge and respond on behalf of all other students.
Coach Bolo, did you see the kid who went to school with a machete? This kid, Ellie, imagine there's a school, I'm not going to mention the county, there's a school that has an actual prison. So you do a mistake, you were put in there for an entire, it was in the news. Why are you so surprised? It was in the news. They have a prison with a bucket as a toilet, and you stay there for an entire day or even 2 days. You're humiliated on assembly. Everyone, tell me how this kid will not be disturbed mentally. Tell me how this kid will not even burn down. Are you telling
me? I'm sorry, but is this even legal in the first place?
That is the question we should be asking. These teachers
and this is happening in the broad watch of government and the Ministry of Education, even though you're telling me it was in the news.
My opinion is they have time to give tender and give books. Schools these days have 1 million books. They have textbooks because someone was given the tender and told Peleka Vitabu. Now there are books, but who is reading these books? Which kids are reading these books? This disturbed laws.
We must be ashamed as a country and as a society that we live in a space where we have turned everything around us to be a deal. You're dealing with your children's lives. You're dealing with their welfare. You're dealing with every single thing that comes your way. Before we can close the curtains on this one, I know probably Dalmas was trying to identify why public institutions. And I believe, as you say, public institutions have become another white elephant projects for a lot of these government officials. And we cannot sit down and assume we are good. No, we are not. We are not. The three of us will not resolve this stalemate. But truth be told, we cannot just hide our heads under bury our heads under the sand and like the ostrich and look like nothing is happening. So as we move this conversation forward, Coach Collins, if anything, we were to talk about psychology and the well-being of those young ones, do you believe it's time that the professional psychologists actually got a station in those schools at a call of a button and actually be remunerated like teachers will be? Ama history ikuwe tu guiding counseling department na inaisha
Even
hivyo?
better, Eddie. The enumeration should be better. As Bolo speaks, you saying they should be enumerated as teachers. Teachers are not getting enough money, so make it better for the counselors and even the teachers. Yes, Coach Bolo. I'm sorry I cut you. I am speaking from first hand.
The government is too late. By now, we need to have each and every school at least 2 therapists. If it's mixed school, a male and a female therapist. If it's a boys' school, they need a male therapist or sometimes female therapist, but no teachers. But if it happens that a teacher trained to become a psychological counselor, she should leave the work of teaching and be now fully as a professional counselor in that particular school, so that we don't have what we call dual relationship. The government now should campaign and come up with the emergency budget of recruiting as many professional counselors as possible. We have 2 bodies in Kenya which are covering so many professional counselors. This is the right time for the government. Why is it important? Government is very logical in addressing issues, but the problem we have right now is very emotional and psychological. It needs experts on this particular area. We don't need logical results. We need experts to take charge and help our students. Not only that, we need these professionals to be on ground so that they can have time with the students and get to understand the underlying problems facing our students, which might be environmental factors, might be something to do with their upbringing also. However, because these people have been trained in this line, it becomes easy for them to work together with these particular students towards dealing with their problem and towards solving of their problem. The government needs to do this thing. This is the best time on which the government need to respond. Why? Emotional issues are not sorted out with the logical reasoning. The other thing is important. We need, first people came up with a similar education, smart enough to know that we need extracurricular activities. We need them back. Students need time for other activities, so that the philosophy is a change is as good as a rest. Every time they go for music festival, they have dramas, they go for soccer, they have entertainment, they have Christian Union meetings. It helps them very much during that particular time to get a change and to feel they're at a point of rest even as they get back to their bookwork. Because the reality of the matter is this: being educated is very important, but having young men and ladies who are learned is the best thing we can ever have. Even as we're having a transition between our current system, which has failed, and that's why it's been changed with CBC. It has really failed. And it's only someone who is not smart or a fool who believes that repeating doing the same things every day can bring different results. Yes, which it's very key. Something needs to be done. Someone needs to get to the level of our students and even help them, even as much as it is common for people to blame each other at different times. Yes, Nyanduko, I can see Ellie's off kidogo.
Okay, so I'm gonna I think we should be finishing, so I'm just going to give my sentiments, and here it goes. Dear ministry, dear government, these children need to be heard. They need someone to actually listen to them. This is a cry for help. The system is broken and it needs to be fixed. They need help, and the help cannot come from these teachers who have a very small psychology. We did psychology, very small psychology in college is not enough to actually take care of the needs of these kids. They need professional help and they need to be heard. Open those communication channels, allow them to speak their minds. Bring back entertainment in schools. Give them enough food. Give these children enough rest. They need it. They're not machines. They can only function better if they're allowed enough rest, if they're allowed enough freedom to actually communicate, and they're heard, and they feel like they're heard and their sentiments are being attended to. Thank you. Ellie.
Thank you. And as we conclude tonight, we will never have a conclusion to this discussion. But of course, we need to keep this conversation going. Engage us in the comments section and share this information with each and every person that you come across, because we cannot sit back and allow our children to perish in that moment of confusion. And of course, their health and their wealth matters. So let's pay attention to it. Coach Collins, how do we find you for other services?
In case you need to find me for other services, you can get me via my phone number, +254 721 605 346. If you're in Mombasa, you can still find me opposite Toyota Kenya, Amani Counseling and Training Center, where every Tuesday and every Thursday I offer therapy. But any other day, we have a group of therapists who can surely help you. Another best way is you can invite me to come to your church, you can invite me to come to your company, you can invite me to come to the institution through my organization, Family Health, Lifestyle and Career Development. We can have group therapy, we can have one-on-one therapy, we can have which are going to help your people to have change of mind, which will lead to change of the way you feel and change of behavior. Back to you, Eddie.
Change of mind, change of the way you feel, and change of behavior. That's what we have to advocate for as we seek to address all the assholes that are going. And in my own words, let me just say this to our fellow Kenyans and online community at large. We still not a lost generation. Of course, we are having turbulence, but we still have that chance to make a difference. So what will be your work in making the difference? Of course, Nyaruko 250, thank you so much for coming tonight to this special edition of Family Edition, because wewe na Mwaremo, you are on the same WhatsApp group. And of course, Coach Collins Bolo, as always, find him right here on the Family Edition every single Saturday from 9:30 p.m. East African time. And now we are in winter time. We call it 7:30 p.m. Central European time. Till next time, my name is Likuyani Eli. And of course, take care of yourselves. Good night.